Check, 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 check. Okay.
Odds forever.
You're listening to Rink Rash Radio on 247miami.tv.
All right, welcome back. Sorry for that interruption. It is Florida, folks. We are currently under a weather storm, I am told, and we went
lightning and thunder
and all sorts of stuff.
Cats and dogs.
Because we're tearing it up in here too. We have on the line. If you're just tuning in, we have on the line. We're with Erica Vanstone, or Double H. She is the Director of Broadcasting Operations at WFTDA. And we're going to have to kind of take it from the top a little bit for those people that haven't listened in. So, Erica, I'm sorry, you were talking about how you got involved in Derby and how that had led to you seeing there was a need for a collaborative effort to bring the games of roller derby to more awareness through the WFTDA, starting as an announcer, and then you were just getting into how you got more involved with WFTA.
Yeah, there were a handful of people at the time back in the day doing roller derby video production, and it was really, folks were relying on volunteers in various leagues, and it was everything from a webcam attached to a laptop to, some people had better
Sounds familiar.
top-of-the-line cameras.
Yeah, zero budget,
Yeah,
shoestring budget to make it
guys-
happen. Oh yeah, well, just
Yeah.
a lot of very dedicated, passionate people. We affiliated with the Connecticut School of Broadcasting. So we were able to get in with them, and we got a lot of their students to come out and volunteer. And what we would do is we would take a seasoned announcer and then put them with a young broadcaster, so that basically the audience could learn roller derby through the eyes of that new broadcaster. At least that was the thought. And then we worked it up to where we had multiple cameras. We were doing live camera switching. We had graphics.
But yeah,
we did it all on no money. This was just sheer determination.
Yeah. Which is, I think, indicative of a lot of things that happen in derbies, that we love it so much that we want to make things better for the sport.
You find a way.
And this is what, Double H, you were talking about, how you saw that there was a need, and, that you went to games and didn't, quite understand what was going on and saw how cool it was, but wanted other people to get it. And that's kind of how it begun. So why don't you take it off from there and tell us about what happened after that?
Yeah, I think that, so for me as an announcer, coming through that background in roller derby, of course, announcers are our own special breed.
Yes,
and I absolutely love us. The one thing that I think was common among all of us, especially when I started, was the passion for really explaining the game, which is why I got involved.
Right.
I got involved because I went to games and I said, I have no idea what's happening, and I'm so excited about this. Imagine what it would be if people knew what was happening.
If everybody knew, right?
If everybody knew what was happening, it would be amazing. So I think I really took that principle and wanted to see video production do that, and wanted to see broadcast do that for people, to really be not necessarily an educational tool, but something that anybody who was flipping the internet channel, surfing the web, could come upon it and watch it for a minute or two and really try to grasp what was happening. And, we've had a lot of game changes and rules changes throughout my time within roller derby. But my number one priority has always been trying to make it better, trying to make it more easily accessible to people, trying to build something that people felt really proud to be involved in, and could show their friends or family or coworkers, and really start to get interest outside of our community.
Absolutely.
Through broadcast.
Absolutely. That's amazing.
But, in order to do that, you kind of have to build baseline standards of some kind.
And I think that's fascinating, because I think that's something we can all relate to as derby skaters. When we got into this, we found this sport that was just so raw and amazing, and we watched it grow and we grew with it, and we wanted to share that with everyone we knew. And now here, from WFTDA's recent announcement, we have an opportunity to do that, which is show other people who are not normally as engaged in the Derby world on ESPN3, which is going to feature the final day of the competition. So you going from announcing to, getting with the WFTDA and saying this is a need, this is something that we should do, and make a priority, to now getting to live coverage on ESPN3, where thousands of people, or even more than that, would actually be able to be exposed to it probably for the very first time. So that's quite an evolution, and we're very proud to be part of that, because we get excited about it too. What, more people get to watch this awesome sport that I fell in love with, that changed my life, and
yeah.
And so we were talking about how moving from kind of like this like uncoordinated group to being able to get on, you said you were pestering the board, we need to do this, and then they said what?
So you mean from when I started the production?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So interestingly enough, the real genesis of my conversations with Bloody Mary, and I'm sure she cringes every time I tell the story, but happened because at Declaration of Derby, what I had really wanted to do was, because I was a member of Philly Roller Derby and they graciously kind of let me have free reign with whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Basically, I wanted to create like an example, a sample of a high definition, really well done quality broadcast sample that I thought that I could approach the WFTDA with, and we could maybe think about what the sport could look like in a sports broadcast context. And I had put a release form in the sign-in packages for all the skaters at Declaration of Derby, and the one team that refused to sign it was Texas Roller Girls. Because they looked at it and it had my documentary production name on it. And, rightfully so. What's awesome about that moment is that Texas was the team that said, you know what, we value our image, we value our personal brand so much that we're going to really question this. And that was a conversation that started really lighting a fire under, me, and certainly my conversations with Bloody Mary about, well, how could we really protect the images of our skaters and, their likenesses and this sport, and really try to develop value while making this ourselves, because that by the skater, for the skater, DIY mentality, it's not just saying, like, we are developing a completely radical way of approaching sports governance and sports management.
Absolutely.
And so that release form, that was really a touchstone of the program, because within the next few years, you would then come to a WFTDA playoff when it was still regionals. And as you would sign in for a skater, you're signing a release form for the WFTDA. And you're just saying, yes, I agree that by participating in this tournament, the WFTDA has the right to be able to show this. And I trust them enough to show me in an athletic, competitive, high quality way. And that's what we were trying to do, is really figure out a way that we could bring the organization together collectively to have more power together to negotiate whatever we wanted to. And I think that the ESPN deal is really kind of a huge step forward in that, because we're not advocating for teams. We're not advocating for anything really other than the athletes. Like, we want to showcase all of this hard work. Obviously we're advocating for the teams, but what this is about is still by the skater, for the skater. What this is about is not somebody coming to us and dropping a lot of cash in our lap and walking away with our image. This is about what we've developed, the look, the feel, the very expression on broadcast of our sport that we have developed ourselves, that we are now taking to a larger spectrum in the world and saying, check this out, because it's amazing. You've never seen anything like it, and you're going to love it. Why? Because it's on a platform that you already watch. if you're a sports fan.
Absolutely.
So,
and hold that thought. We're going to be back with one more segment with you to kind of help develop that a little bit more and how people can actually tune in to ESPN3 for the final day of the competition on November 8th. We definitely want to, kind of develop that as well, so people know where to find it, how to get it. If you're just tuning, if you're tuning in, that's the game to watch. But of course, we also have the kickoff with the Division II playoffs next week again, so you could start already watching Derby. We can talk a little bit more about that in the next segment. Stay tuned for more Rink Rash Radio. Thank you so much. Hang tight, Double H. We'll be back.
Has been some resistance. I think it's because, women finally found a sport to call their own. We have basketball and football. I mean, girls are coming to that, but we've started it, and, we kind of made it our thing. So, women finally found something to call their own. And I think they just feel like some of us are trying to come in and to take over it. But we don't want to take over it. We're trying to follow your footsteps because we aspire to be you guys.
This is Wilma Shakespeare,
Anger,
and Disaster Chief
from Miami's Vice City Rollers, inviting you to tune in to Rink Rash Radio on 247miami.tv. New shows every Saturday at 9 p.m.
with encore replays Monday at noon and 10 p.m., Tuesdays at 10 a.m.,
and Wednesdays at 10 a.m. and again at 10 p.m.
Find out everything you've ever wanted to know about roller derby and the 305.
Get the 411 on the women's team,
the men's team,
and even the juniors.
Rink Rash Radio.
Rink Rash Radio.
Rink Rash Radio.
On 247miami.tv.
Hello, everybody. George West here to tell you what you can expect on 247miami.tv. How about the 305 Nuts? My show, The George West Show, The Dirty Laundry, The Fantasy Frauds, Metal and Mayhem, plus the best DJs Miami has to offer. You can find it all right here on 247miami.tv, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. Try to get a deal like that anywhere else. Afraid you just can't do it. Only here, 247miami.tv.
Yes, we're moving to Wednesdays at 7. Get your shit together. Put John and Ricky in the box. We gotta go. Okay. Get me out of here.
That's right. The Royo Show is moving now to Wednesdays at 7 o'clock, only on 247miami.tv.
I'm Carnage.
I'm Sally Jones.
I'm Rex. I'm Livid Doll. We're from Leeds Roll the Dolls, and you're listening to Rink Rash Radio.
Back to the show before the fresh meat gets rotten. You're listening to Rink Rash Radio on 247miami.tv.
Welcome back. That's the last segment of today's episode. We're on the line with Double H. She is the Director of Broadcast Operations at WFTDA. And we're talking about growing the sport, raising awareness about the sport, empowering the sport for the skater, by the skater, and still staying true to that credo, because we all love this. We do it for the passion of it. We do it because it's such an awesome sport. We want to share that with everyone. So we're talking about obviously the recent announcement by WFTDA partnering with ESPN3 to feature the final day of the competition on November 8th. But also, we've also been talking about the fact that the playoff season has kicked off with Division II next weekend playoffs. So it's not, yes, that's the final day of coverage, but there's a whole other, series of games that people... 6 whole weeks, apparently, of games that people can watch. And Erica, why don't you tell us about how people can actually watch starting from now to leading up to the November 8th playoff?
Well, people can go to WFTDA.tv, and passes for the tournament are on sale now. And if you get there before August 20th, we do have an early bird special coupon that I know, right? That we have announced on social media. So head on over to Facebook and you can find out more about that. But we will. And
August 20th is my birthday. So, before my birthday, go get your discounted package.
I did it for your birthday. Hooray! So, everything will be the way it has typically been in the past on .tv. You'll be able to access Division II and Division I playoffs the way that you normally have. And
so what does a
that
package cost? And what are the types of packages that people can get?
Well, the Division II packages are going to be, they're $12 a piece. And they are, people have asked if we could sort of wrap them into the combo pass, right? Because we also have a combo pass for Division I playoffs and championships.
Mm-hmm.
It is a slightly different broadcast that we've run typically with Division II. It's a little bit more scaled down. And the reason that was is because we weren't sure when we first started doing Division II coverage and when we first started doing Division II tournaments, we weren't sure what the turnouts were going to be like.
Mm-hmm.
And we weren't sure if people were going to want to watch it, to
Mm-hmm.
be honest, and not that there's anything lesser about Division II gameplay. It's just that we've been focused so much on Division I that people weren't sure what was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So now each Division II game weekend, is $12, and then the Division I playoffs per weekend are $15.
Okay.
Championships is going to be $22.50, whether you're in the U.S. or outside the U.S., and I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. And then Division I playoffs and championships are going to be $60. And the coupon code is 10% off any pass purchase. So if you want to buy the championships bundle with the D1 playoff, that's 10%. Or if you just want to get one Division II playoffs weekend, that's 10%. And the code is
I am WFTDA to get 10% off any of the streaming packages to watch the Division II or Division I playoffs and championships.
Correct.
Awesome.
And so the championships weekend is basically going to be geo-partitioned, what we call geo-partitioned. And it is ESPN3 has exclusive U.S. rights on that day for Championship Sunday, which means if you live in the United States, you will only be able to watch it on ESPN3.
Oh.
If you live outside of the United States, you will be able to watch it on WFTDA.tv the same way that you normally would. But so because we were not going to charge our U.S. viewers for that Sunday, we didn't want to penalize people who lived outside of the United States. So the pricing is exactly the same whether you live in the United States or outside the U.S. For that week. And we wanted to make it fair for our fans and our WFTDA members who've been so loyal to our program. So we're excited.
So just to recap, if you want to watch any of the tournaments, you go to WFTDA.tv, and there's several packages from whether you want to just watch Division II or the Division I or there's a bundle. And we do have, just because we do like the $12 to watch is it's the cost of a typical derby game. So to be able to watch like the playoffs for $12 is actually not that far off from what one game would typically cost at a local roller derby match. So that's, I get that $12 to $15, $10 to $15 is usually the range that I've seen per game. You
compare that to a boxing match or something like that, where you're going to pay $60, $70, and the fight may last 30 seconds.
Especially Ronda Rousey's playing.
That's what I'm saying. With this, you're going to get 90 minutes of excitement.
60, but it's a playoff. So, so there's multiple games.
There you have it.
Right. So how many, there's going to be hours of.
Dude, you're asking me. You've got Double H on the line. She's the one that knows. I'm trying to study at the foot of the master over here.
Yeah. There's 17 games every weekend for playoffs and 16, I think, this year championships, because we're including 2 Division II qualifier games at the beginning of our championships weekend. So I think there's 118 games total for the entire season.
So what happens if somebody wants to watch all the derby?
Well, this year it's going to be, you would have to buy each Division II weekend separately and then the combo pass.
Okay.
For Division I for Division I and championships. Next year, we're going to talk about how we can create coverage that we have within one entire package, because we know fans want it. I've had people come up to me and say, why why can't I give you my money, Double H? I want to give you my money for D2 and D1 and championships, and you won't let me. So
let me throw some money at you.
I know. Next year we're going to find a way
to
make that happen and make our fans really happy. This year we still kept it separate because we want to make sure we did raise prices by a few dollars this year because we wanted to make sure we were covering costs first. That's one thing that we want to be clear about. Really, these prices are to help us cover costs. It's not It's not like we're Scrooge McDuck swimming in piles of money. We're just trying to cover costs.
Well, I mean, you're not Scrooge McDuck.
You swim in it, and then you kind of give it out to the people you owe.
And then you're no longer swimming in it.
I have to ask, has there been any talk there at the WIFTA headquarters about moving into Apple TV or Roku or a vehicle like that, Hulu, so that you know, anybody, anywhere, anytime, on-demand access to roller derby broadcasts?
Yep, absolutely. That's the type of thing that we talk about all the time. The ESPN programming is available through all of those devices, which is one thing that we were really excited about it was that it is available through Chromecast and Apple TV and Roku and Xbox. So that type of functionality is something that we are moving into. And we've also had conversations with our commerce platform, Kling, who has recently started working very closely with Roku. It's definitely something that we're investigating for the future. I think some of the things that we're trying to wrap our brains around is that a Roku channel would be perfect. We had worked with CDNs in the past, like Bright Cove, who will host our content, but it's enormously expensive. It's gotten a lot cheaper, but when we hosted, before we put all of our archives to YouTube, which is absolutely free, we were working with a CDN on the back end called Bright Cove, and they're one of the leaders in the industry for that type of hosting. But it's the bandwidth costs. Every time somebody watched our games, it would cost us money, and so at the end of the year, we got this enormous bill for all that bandwidth, and we said, well, that's not something that's sustainable for us. So trying to build back up to those types of solutions, like I said, it's gotten cheaper, but that's what we're going to start investigating for next year as well.
That's exciting.
So you're going to be looking for advertisers, investors to come in and actually, put the dollars behind this that need to be put into it to make it professional, to, slick, very
Slick
well
TV,
produced, and just like boxing, just like football, just like basketball, roller derby.
Well, you know what? I tell you what, I think we've had a lot of conversations with people over the years who come in and would like to do things for us. But just because, it's like that classic Jurassic Park line, we're so busy being preoccupied with whether or not we can do something. We're not really thinking about whether or not we should. Well, within WFTDA headquarters, as you call it, which is it's a funny image in my mind, we are driven by whether or not we should do something first and foremost, not just whether or not we can. And we want it to be sustainable, and we want it to come from within the membership, from within the skaters. So those are the things that drive us. And I think we've learned over the years that we are walking that line between what our fans desperately want from us and what our membership really needs. And that's a very difficult place to be, and we need to be able to honor both. So all of the decisions that we're making, we're really sort of looking at both of those sides very carefully.
No, I get it. You want to get it slick and produced, but at the same time, it's got to be kept punk rock. It's got to be a little dirty,
a little true to for the skater, for the skater, by the skater, which is what all of roller derby is all about, right? Keeping it for the skaters.
I would still like to see the manufacturers of skates, ball bearings, apparel. I think those are totally legitimate advertisers to come in and throw dollars into the production.
And they do.
And, well, And it's time to step our game up a little bit, in the words of Snoop Dogg.
Well, and that's kind of what this whole announcement is about, right? You know, kind of
this
like
is
that
amazing.
This is amazing.
This is amazing that it's going to ESPN3.
Yep, where everybody can watch. Anybody can watch.
You know, not since what, the 70s? Have roller derby's been in primetime television?
I'm sorry, can you repeat that?
It's been at least what, 30 years, 70s or 80s, that roller derby was on primetime television and was a predominant sport. And it's not, I love it. So I have a special place for it in my heart. Mm-hmm. And it kind of pisses me off that roller derby, that's real, that happens. There are people that still do that. I saw an episode of Charlie's Angels. No, it's real, man. And Double H is making sure that you can see it on ESPN. So I'm all about that. That's awesome.
Well, I don't know how much time we have left, but I have a response to that.
You have 3 minutes, please. We would love your response.
I can do this. I can do this in 3 minutes. So here's the thing. If you look at women's sports and the way they are broadcast, they are not given equal coverage. And I don't mean the media covering them in stories. I mean, when you watch a woman's sport, there are not as many camera angles. There are not as well-trained announcers. There are not the graphics packages. They are logistically not given the resources that men's sports are. And there is a sexism underneath that is really tough to unpack. And one of the things about this ESPN3 deal is I believe this is not just because it's the 10-year anniversary of the WFTDA. This is the right time for us to make this move because the Women's World Cup coverage showed that if people put the time and resources into making the coverage what it should be, then people will embrace the sport, and people will embrace it in as many numbers as they've been doing to football in our country, in the United States, or baseball, or hockey, or any of the other quote-unquote major league sports. So it's really not even just taking roller derby seriously. It's why aren't we taking the coverage of women's sports in general seriously? And that's what we've been doing since we started. So we're already ahead of the conversation when we're coming into this work that we're doing with ESPN3. I did it in less than 3 minutes.
You did. Well said. Well said. I agree
1,000%.
100%. Yeah. I think with the big win that Ronda Rousey just had.
Ronda Rousey, she's one of the first MMA players.
Yeah, she's everywhere.
Female MMA players to be featured.
Do Nothing Bitch has become, that's
Do Nothing Bitch.
Yeah, that's at the breakfast table now. Everybody's saying that. My daughters are saying it to me. Daddy, don't be a do nothing bitch. Make me waffles.
You know what though? Ronda Rousey doesn't even believe roller derby is a sport.
Really?
She said so in the media. Yeah, she said so in the media. She's so. I have feelings about her. But,
not less than 3 minutes worth of feelings, but okay.
I know.
People are complicated. They're right about some things. They're wrong about other things. That's what makes them people. So Ronda Rousey has just as much right to be wrong about roller derby as anybody else.
And that's why we're going to show them that they should buy into this amazing sport that is so empowering and awesome for women, because that's what it is about. Like, it's about women coming together to elevate themselves and bring others in it, like to show that awesomeness. So I think we're running out of time, but
unfortunately, please tell me you'll come back and do the show again.
Yes.
Oh, sure.
Awesome.
Fantastic.
Awesome. So we've got lots. I know you have a very busy 6 weeks coming up with all the playoffs coming up and everything. But if we could squeeze you in.
And the Pope.
With the Pope coming into Philly, it was so awesome to hear from you. Thank you for representing WFTDA and bringing that voice onto the show. I think it's important for people to listen to that. 10% discount. I am WFTDA to stream the playoffs at Division II and Division I championships. Catch it live on ESPN3, the final day of the competition on November 8th. Thank you so much, Double H, for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
All right. That was Rink Rash Radio. Stay tuned for not more, but okay.